Thank you for attending this talk. Actually, I gave a talk on the 8 consciousness years ago. And so this time I decided to talk about 100 Dharmas so that we can have a complete view about the Yogacara philosophy. This series talk is going to be is introduction class. So I will try to explain the content for beginners. And if you are interested in more deep concept or deep understanding, we hopefully we can give you some reference to read. Okay. When we talk about Yogacara school, there are some masters that we must know about. The first one is called Asanga. If you check his history, Asanga is a very famous, intelligent master. And he also practiced very diligently. And so that from the literature, there is a very wide belief that through practice, he was able to ascend to the heaven to meet with Maitreya Bodhisattva and learn some of the Yogacara practice directly from this Bodhisattva. And there are 3 major publications that are from the teaching of Maitreya that compiled by Master Asanga. The most famous one is called Yogacara Buni Sastra. And in this sastra, it uses 660 dharmas to describe the whole existence, and the other sastra is indicated in the PowerPoint. And the reason I specifically point out this Yogacara Muni Sastra is it is the reason that later on the master Shanzhen that will take all the trouble to India for this book. So this is a very important sastra in Yogacara school. And the other important master is Asanga's half-brother called Basu Bandu, okay? And a lot of Yogacara publications are from him. And in the beginning of Basu Bandu's practice, he is majorly in Theravada school. And so there are 2 publications that are very important. One is called Treasury of the Abhidhamma, and its commentary. So these books are very important to study, especially in Theravada tradition. And however, his half-brother Asanga tried expedient way to convert his younger brother to become Mahayana. And so there is a very well-known stories that Asanga asked his brother to come back home because he is very ill. And so he invited his brother Vasunda Basu Bandu to come back home to say goodbye. And then along the way back home, Asanga's disciple was chanting the Sutra of Ten Muni next room to Basu Bandu. And then upon hearing this sutra, which belongs to Mahayana, that Basu Bandu found out that he never heard of this kind of teaching, which is very, very good and deep. And so when he went back home, he found out that his brother Asanga is not sick at all, and was giving the teaching on the sastra of the sutra, the Yogacara Muni Sastra. And upon hearing this teaching, he found out even more deep teaching, and then he realized that he has the wrong views about Mahayana teaching. So later on, he converted to Mahayana teaching and promote the Yogacara schools a lot, majorly. And so later on, Basu Bandu's publications, including what's in PowerPoint, the 12 verses and its commentary on consciousness only, which is a Yogacara, and the 30 verses on the consciousness only. These three books are a must read for if you want to study Yogacara school. And also there is a sastra called the Sastra on the Door to Understanding the 100 Dharmas. Is also very popular. And these sastras are translated into many languages worldwide. And so this serious talk is based on this sastra, and I will try to explain this 100 dharmas one by one. And Basu Bandu's publications are translated by a Chinese master called Shanzhen. And Shanzhen is another remarkable figure that we must know, and actually is worldwide known. And the most famous one for non-Buddhist society is his book on pilgrim to the West in the Tang Dynasty. In Chinese, it's 大唐西域记. Okay, this book write down about 140 countries that he visited along the journey from China to India, and including the cities in India that he visited later on, that he detailedly record the cities, geography, the culture, the economy, and the people. So it's a very good documentary book to read. And this last Christmas to this January, we our members, we have a pilgrimage trip to India and visit many Buddhist sites. And we found out that Shanzhen are very famous in India because India has no culture to write down things. So their history is based on memory, people's memory. So this book become a very good reference for them to find out their history and the geography in India. And also they, from the book's content, they find out those famous Buddhist sites in that timing. And so Master Xuanzang, when he was a young monk, he studied Buddhism, but he has so many questions. And then that inspired him to find out the original teachings in India. So he took all the trouble, overcome all the difficulties from China to India, and to learn majorly Yogacara school. And also he bring back many sutras and sastras back to China to translate. That his major and famous contribution to Buddhism in Chinese Buddhism is those translation work. And some of them are missing in India already. And you can find out only in Chinese version, and some of them in Tibetan version. So the major translation work are, like I just mentioned earlier, the Yogacara Muni Sastra compiled by Master Asanga, and the following by Master Basu Bandu. The 20 verses and the 30 verses is on consciousness only, and the commentary on the 20 verses on consciousness only, and also the sastra on the door to understanding the 100 Dharmas. And so if you want to study Yogacara school, you may check out this translate book and in English to read more in detail. And this is the Nalanda Vihara. It is the very famous Buddhist university in that time, that all the great Buddhist teachers are trained or teach here, including Master Xuanzang. And this is a very, very dramatic place. When we visit them, it's like our major university scope. It has a living quarter. It has teaching class and meditation area, and everything are well designed. And so at that time, this is a very important place for Buddhist teaching there. And so when Master Xuanzang went to India, he spent quite some time here learning and teaching. And so back to our topic. Before we go to the 100 Dharma, I would like to explain what Yogacara means. Yogacara actually means consciousness only. So when you check out the literature, you can either Google Yogacara, or you can Google consciousness only to find out different kinds of references. And this Yogacara school or consciousness only school are claimed to be the Buddhist psychology, because of it emphasizes the mind and how mind reactions. But the major point, just like all other schools, the Buddhist teachings share the same scope and foundation and path, is to teach all our ordinary people how we recognize our ignorance, and through practice to cultivate our wisdom, and also how we sentient beings can transcend to become Bodhisattva and even eventually Buddha through practice. That's our path for practice. And the fundamental concepts of Yogacara school has three major concepts. The first is called dependent arising, and the most famous theory is called 12 links of dependent origination or dependent arising. This concept describes how things happen and why it's cyclically trap our behavior. This is another very good topic to note about. And so when we talk about dependent arising, that means not a specific someone to make things happen, and not you to make things happen. It's all depends on the conditions, and it has many conditions and many causes to make a phenomena happen. Okay, and second is all dharmas have no self, and no self is actually a major teaching for Buddhism, and is related to the concept of emptiness as well. And the so-called no self, before we talk about no self, and we have to know what is quote unquote self means. And so usually ordinary people think that there is a self means that there is a unique me and eternal entity that is dominant all the things. Okay, and so Buddhism talk about no, there is no self. It doesn't mean that we are not exist. Okay, it means that everything change according to the conditions, including our mind. Okay, so we need to break our attachment to the concept of self in order to liberate, to know about what is the status of no self, and so that we can directly know our true nature. What is our true nature? And this self, the attachment to the self become the, is the origin of our all vexations. And so that's why when study Yogacara, the first things, the main purpose for learning the Yogacara, or even, by large, learning Buddhism, is to know about the no self, the concept of no self. And this is, we will talk about later on, when we compare other religions, talk about the so-called the soul and the God. And many religions believe that we have a soul, the self, that is eternal, exist. In other words, when I die, my soul changed to the other body. I will be reborn again with another body, but my soul is still the same soul. So that's why there are some countries that has the caste system, that they divided people into different levels. For example, if you were born in ancient India, that if you were born in a slave family, you are slave. And you will be slave life after life after life, and you will never transcend or upgrade it into royal. You will never be born as in royal family ever. Okay, so a Brahmin or a royal people, person will be born as a royal again and again and again. So that's why there is no for cross marriage between two different castes. And so your soul, the quality of your soul remains even you die. Okay, so that's the concept of soul, but Buddhism doesn't think that way. So when Buddha established his Sangha in India, he tried to break this caste system. Everyone from different castes, people can ordain as a monk, and you are treated equally. So this is a dramatic breakthrough at that time for Buddha to establish his Sangha. And also there is some religion has a concept of God, mean G-O-D, generator, operator, and destroyer, that dominate and plan everything for us. But for Buddhism, we don't think that way. Even though we also pray for Buddha and for Bodhisattva, just like other religions like Christian pray to God, we also pray for higher, the so-called higher realm, higher practitioner or master for help. But that doesn't mean that they are omniscient God that control everything. Okay, so this is a major concept of Buddhism. And the third point of Yogacara teaching is all phenomenal existence is fabricated by consciousness. And this is a very, very elegant and very deep teaching that the Yogacara school developed. Some of the psychology concept can interpret this Yogacara concept, but cannot go to that deep. For example, nowadays psychology study can go to maybe the sixth consciousness level, but it's very hard to touch the seventh and eighth consciousness, which Yogacara school use eight aspect of consciousness to describe mind. Okay, so we will talk about that later in detail. So just remember that when we study or learn Yogacara or consciousness only, that we have to keep in mind the three major concepts is it's always dependent arising, and all dharmas has no self, and all phenomenal existence is fabricated by consciousness. Okay. Now, why we learn Yogacara? Why we learn Buddhism? And the major part is in the red square, there is the so-called mundane world. And there is the green square called super-mundane world. In this mundane world, everything is conditional arising. So we call it conditioned dharmas. And in the super-mundane world, everything manifested not by condition. And so we call it unconditioned Dharma. Okay, so in this Saha world, in this mundane world, we need to ask ourselves, what is self? How we perceive this world? And what is the relationship between self and outside world? And what is the origin of life? And how it starts and ends, and why? And then in this mundane world, for religion, religion provide a view about how we can practice in this mundane world so that we can reach the supermundane world eventually. And so for different religion, the supermundane world has different definition. And for example, for Christians, the supermundane world is the heaven, God's heaven. But for Buddhism, it's not, okay? And we might have some expedient Pure Land, but these are not the ultimate supermundane world. So all the religion will provide the practice for us to reach the supermundane world from the mundane world. And that's the major teaching for all the religions. And of course, all the religion also emphasizes how we should live our lives in this mundane world so that eventually we can reach to the supermundane world. And also in this mundane world, we human developed science, psychology, philosophy, sociology, and some theories try to understand what is going on in this world. And all this partially share with Buddhism, and some of them not, especially in Yogacara, that we used the Hanji Dharma to try to help us understand what is this mundane world, and spend some time to explain what is supermundane world and how we practice so that we can transcend and to realize what is so-called no self. Okay, through understanding this scope in Buddhism, especially in Yogacara school, it is the three major points in the conditioned Dharma is three major elements to make our lives keep going. One is our mind. The so-called minds include the consciousness and the emotions. And the second is form. The form includes the body and our environment. And the third is called concepts. There are many laws and ideas and thoughts or values that are shared by human beings, and some of them are by individual. And all these three elements compose together to make our lives go through what we have been go through. For example, why you would make this decision, why we will choose this kind of life, why you suffer, and why I vexed. So why in this world, some people are happy, some people suffer. And some people, you say, oh, because he is rich, that's why he's happier, which is not true. So we need to understand these three elements, how they intertwine together to make our life this way or that way. And also in this mundane world, we need to understand how the past and present and future connect together, and how they continuously link together. Okay, so this is a big questions. And of course, for some religion or for some belief system, they don't believe the past life, and they may not believe in the future life. But as a Buddhist, there is a major concept is we have 3 lives. One is in the past, one is in the present, and one is in the future. And this will, with this concept, we understand what is causes and condition and consequence, and what is no self, and what is the so-called reincarnation or cyclic existence in this mundane world. For those who are not liberated out of the 6 realms, we are always cyclic existence, life after life after life in these 6 realms. So that's why we need to practice until we can reach the super-mundane world and liberate all the attachment and vexations. And so this 100 Dharma will help us understand all this. And hopefully, first, while we are still ordinary sentient beings in the mundane world, hopefully this 100 Dharma can help us to generate first the right view about self and no self. Okay, and second, to practice not to be fooled by worldly phenomena. And third, to establish right relationships with others, including the environment, including what is happening right now, the so-called COVID pandemic phenomena. And the fourth, know how to cultivate the right views, right way to live our lives at any conditions. Okay. It doesn't, if for a Buddhist, a good life does not count on good material supplies. It emphasizes that how we operate our mind is the major key to have a meaningful and happy life. So that's what we need to learn through this 100 Dharma. And also this 100 Dharma provide some suggestion on how to practice so that we can transform our consciousness into wisdom, and so that we can see what is no self, and to try to understand or try to taste what is so-called supramundane world. Actually, this is enlightened people's level that we ordinary people cannot imagine at all. But at least we can have a right view about what is enlightenment really means. Nowadays, Buddhism is getting more popular worldwide, and more people practice. But without right view about enlightenment, it will be dangerous for those who have spatial experience, who has a spatial body and mind experience, to think that they are enlightened and they can control everything, or they can, be a spiritual to this world. And so, with some concept from the Yogacara school, you will know that what the enlightened condition will be, and we will be humble to practice. Okay, so this is our purpose, our goal to learn this 100 Dharma. There is 100. It sounds like a lot, but it's actually we can put it into 5 categories. Okay, so here, this is called, there is 100 Dharma. in this sastra, Dharma, okay. If you cannot hear me, because the network is not stable, please voice out. So among the 100 Dharma, there are 6 belongs to enlightened beings, the so-called unconditioned Dharma. The rest belongs to mundane world, conditioned Dharma. And then among the conditioned Dharma, there are 24 called pseudo-Dharma. And the rest is called quote unquote real Dharma in mundane world. And it's not real in super mundane world, okay? And why we call it pseudo-Dharma, I would like to give an analogy. In this world, the gravity is real. When all the worldly phenomena, you cannot avoid the influence of gravity. So gravity is real, but the ultracentrifuge, when we spin something, or when you do laundry, when you try to dry your clothes, so there is a spin, and so it will get rid of all the waters, and there is a ultracentrifuge force, and this force we call it pseudo force. It only exists when you do spinning. So when the machine is doing the spinning, then you have a force, the ultracentrifuge force that can have the power to get rid of the water. But when the spinner stops, then the force disappears. Likewise, for the real Dharma and pseudo Dharma, it happened parallelly. So when there is a real Dharma, and there is a pseudo Dharma, and the pseudo Dharma, for example, the concept of time, the concept of space, the concept of gain and loss, they are all the concept that we developed in the human world. Okay, for example, stock market, it go high, up and down, you gain and lost. But for this gain and loss is real for us, but it's actually a concept as well that we will spend time talk about it. And also time and space. I'm getting old because I live these years. If 10 years later, I'm 10 years older. And this old and young and old, because of time, is also a concept that we generated. So if you are a Chan practitioners, if you do meditation, sometimes you will get to the point that your body and mind go into a status that has no time and space, okay? And you will perceive the world differently, but it's temporary, okay? You will get back to normal when you get out of the meditation state. But anyway, here it's very uniquely put a 24 Sutta Dharma here to explain why this become attachment for us. So among this real Dharma, there are 2 types. One is called mind Dharma. The other is called form, material Dharma. There are 11 elements. There are 11 form Dharmas, okay? And the rest belongs to mind Dharma, okay? The form. Usually we will heard about, oh, there are 4 great elements, the earth, the wind, the fire, you know, the water, but here is not. We talk about different things and how we perceive it, okay? And what we perceive. And the other category is called mind Dharma. It has two sets, okay? One is called eight consciousness. It's also called the king of the mind, okay? The other is 51 mental associates or 51 mental factors that broadly talk about our mental activity, including our vexations, our emotions that come with the eight consciousness. So here, if you see the red dot square, there are 5 categories of the 100 Dharma. The first one, the most important one, 8 consciousness. And the second category is 51 mental associates. The third one is form elements. And the fourth one is called pseudo-dharma. And the fifth one is called unconditioned Dharma. Okay, things are getting more complicated, but be patient and I will get slow so that you know what's going on here. So from this, first we see the top square part, okay, the mundane world, the conditioned Dharma, including the 8 consciousness and mental associates that composed our mind. And the mind interacts with form, and this form has 5 organs and 6 objects that the organ perceive, interact with. And so the mind and the form become the real Dharma. Actually, that's what we call, that we always think that we have a body and mind and this world. And that 3 key parts are actually here is called mind and form. And we think that it's real. So we have vexation and afflictions out of this mind and form. And then we have a so-called pseudo-dharma, the concept about time and space, gain and loss, and etc. And all this real Dharma and pseudo-dharma are the conditioned Dharma in this mundane world, okay? And here, I kind of try to use the modern studies, try to label these dharmas here. For example, the mind, the 8 consciousness and mental associates, we can use some of the psychology concept to understand this part. And with this mind and pseudo-dharma, and we can try to understand how the sociology is developed. And the 5 organs, the form, the 5 organs and 6 objects, and the pseudo-dharmas belongs to science. We can use some of the science concepts to explain or to understand what is Yogacara teachings. And overall, the whole mundane world belongs to philosophy. Okay. When I get, this is very interesting. When I get a master's degrees in chemistry, the degree I receive is called MSc, Master of Science. Okay, here, Master of Science. But when I get a doctoral degree in biochemistry, then I receive a degree called Ph.D. in biochemistry. What is Ph.D. represent? It represents Doctor of Philosophy in biochemistry. Okay, so actually everything belongs to philosophy, based on philosophy. And so you will see by the degree we receive, the training of these two levels emphasize different scope. For a master degree, we need to know this science. What is the laws? What is the rules? What is the process? Chemistry reaction. What is the gravity? What is the all the chemistry, all the laws and concept in this area. But as a philosophy, it doesn't talk about knowledge and technique. Then when we study in doctoral degree, then what we learn is about the philosophy in science and philosophy in specific area that is in a bigger scope, okay? Not focus on knowledge and technology anymore, okay? So through this training, we can develop a new area and develop a new concept, okay? Likewise, in this mundane world, we must have a philosophy of life. If we don't understand what our life is, it's very hard for us to transcend. So just like remember what I have mentioned in the earlier slide, that we really need to know what our life is, why we are here, and what is our relationship with others. And all this science, like science, sociology, psychology, all this belongs to philosophy. Okay, so through the 100 Dharmas, it helps us to develop our philosophical views of life. Okay, and then in order to get to the so-called super mountain world, to transcend, and that belongs to religions. Because super mundane world cannot be experienced easily. Most of the time, we can experience something after we die. But when we die, we cannot remember the past. And that's the problem. So the philosophy cannot continue because the mundane world we will experience life after life are different. Okay, so religion here. I know some of the people who can accept Buddhist teaching, Buddhist philosophy, because of this philosophy, because these concepts are new and can help them to break through some of the bottleneck or to do some major change about their life. But when we talk about religions, when we talk about super mundane world, then that is the different story. And so people can come and learn meditation with us, but they still keep their religion, which is fine. It's okay, because at least you can reach certain religions levels, super mundane world, more easily. But here, Buddhism has different view. all the religions has different views about the supramundane world. And that's here, Buddhist, in the 100 Dharma, that it was spent just a little bit about what the supramundane world, the philosophy of supramundane world will be look like. Okay, so here, and also from this figures, you will know, and you will see the spatial of the Yogacara is Yogacara school spent a lot of content try to explain that what the mundane world is and why it's impermanent, why there is no self, why it's dependent arising, but it describes less about the supramundane world, about our true nature. And for the Tathagata school, it's opposite. It spent a lot of content try to explain what our true nature is and spend less on what the supramundane world, and just basically illusory, okay? And so when we study different school, we need to know that what is the emphasis for this school and learn the best part of this school. And eventually we need to know the complete scope of the Buddhist teachings. Okay, now, this is a summary of the 100 Dharma with the table. And I will, again, I will get to more detail later on. So in your, on the right-hand side, there are all Dharmas, 100 Dharmas, and bottoms, 6 unconditioned Dharma, and 94 conditioned Dharma. And the so-called unconditioned Dharma is not, it will not be changed by all the conditions, okay? And our major part, major learning will be on the conditioned Dharma. And here, the first we will talk about is the 8 consciousness. And so by name, you will know that, you will imagine that the 8 consciousness will be called like the first 5 consciousness, the 6th consciousness, the 7th consciousness, and 8th consciousness, okay? And the second category is called mental associate or mental factors. And that is come with the consciousness, okay? So there is an analogy that describes the consciousness and the mental associates. If we have a candle, okay, so the candle itself is our 8 consciousness, is the king of the mind. But without the flame, without lighting up the candles, which is called mental associates, the mind is not functioning. So the reason that we call it candle, because the candle can light up, okay? So there are 8 mental associates here that we need to understand. We need to know that how our minds react after our mind interact with the objects. The object is the form elements. There are 11 ones. Form elements, there are 5 organs and 6 objects that we will talk about. And the 4th one is more spatial, is there are 24 dharmas that does not belong to the mind dharma, the mental associates, and 4 elements, form elements. And we call it the more detailed, more precise translation is called this is the best one I think I can find. It's called embodied conditioning, not directly perceived by the mind. Okay, so in other words, from the name, that this Dharma does not belong to the previous 3 categories, and yet it will have the influence that cause the mental associate to arise. For example, I'm getting old, so I worry, I look older, much older. I need to do something. I would like my body look much younger when I get old. And this become a vexation, And, the stock market, go high rock. I'm so happy. I gain a lot of money. And then when the market fell, and you lost a lot of money, you worry so much. So gain and loss belongs to this 4th category, but it brings your different mental associate to arise. Okay, so there is a Dharma here, a category of Dharma here that describe this concept. And also nowadays, many scientists try to challenge this concept of time and space, and which is very good because that's what our practice is all about. First, we need to overcome the concept of time and space. And if you have ever looked at the movie of Matrix, it has some concept of this Yogacara philosophy here. And so, okay, so in conclude that this is the 100 Dhammas that we are going to learn in this serious talk. And I will end my talk here today. Hope you have probably have 2 minutes for questions.
Thank you very much for Venerable's talk. Now, if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand or ask it directly. Thank you.
Yes, you can turn on your microphone, Masoud.
Thank you so much, Dharma Master. I'm wondering how we can have 6 kind of unconditioned dharmas, because they are unconditioned, they are not bound in time and space. Aren't they equal with each other? For example, we should have 1 unconditioned dharmas. How can we have 6 unconditioned dharmas?
Very good questions. That's my question too. But when I study the 6 unconditioned dharmas, it described, when people get enlightened, there are different levels of enlightenment. That's how this Yogacara school try to describe. For example, when we get to the 10 muni, when those saints or the bodhisattva at the 10 muni levels, they have different level of enlightenment. So that's how these schools try to describe the unconditioned Dharma. That's things that I can say. But eventually, there is no Dharmas for Buddha's level. You understand? Like in the Diamond Sutra, the Buddha says that I gave teaching, but I'm not talking about any Dharma. If you think that I'm talking about any Dharma, that's the wrong view. When we get to that, when we talk about this category.
Okay, I see there's a question in the chat room.
Yes, but I cannot read.
From Simon, I think. If mind and consciousness is empty and memory empty, what is the point of practice? What is the point of anything? We might as well be dead.
Yeah, another good question. I think you will understand in the following talk. I have similar questions before. When we die, you know, we change. Based on Buddhism, Buddhist teachings, after we died, our mind, our consciousness changed, and we were born in different realms, etc. And my question is, how my Dharma debtor find me? You know, how my karma follow me? This karma, how we continue. You know, if there is no soul, no unchanged soul, how the things I have done in the past will follow me or follow me life after life. And that's a very key concept, key teaching in the Yogacara school, that after understanding this, and we will be able to know how to practice and why we can transform our consciousness into wisdom. And the emptiness is not non-existence. The emptiness and no self has different meanings, not the opposite of self. Okay, so hopefully in the future talk, especially the first topic about the 8 consciousness, you will find some clue from the content.
Okay, great. Anyone else have questions? Okay, I have another question from the chat room. This is probably will be the last question. Isn't the unconditioned is also, I don't even know how to pronounce it, Sido? Or the convenient description? Can you ask yourself? I'm not even sure what the question is.
Yes, my question is that even Buddha is also for convenience sake, because actually, if you if you are with mind together, there is no Buddha. So the unconditioned is also a convenient way of description.
Yes, we call it expedient ways that help us try to understand. All the Buddha's teachings are expedient, actually. So that's why I just mentioned that in the Diamond Sutra, Buddha said that I'm not talking about any dharmas. And dharma is like a boat. You know, you use the boat to go to the other shore. But when you get to the other shore, you will find out that there is no ocean and there is no dharma.
Yes, okay, thank you.
All right.
Okay. I guess that's it for today.
Yeah,
so
please try to catch some of the talk. I think even though I'm not a good speaker, but some of the content are very useful for our practice. Good to learn.
Absolutely. Thank you again for a very most wonderful talk. Please join your palms and bow.
I think the merit transfer.
Yes.
Okay, so I would like to read, okay. May the virtuous merits adorn and glorify the pure land of the Buddhas. Upwardly, we repay the 4 layers of gratitude. Downwardly, we alleviate the sufferings of the sweet destiny. May those who see and hear the Dharma generate Bodhi mind. Exhausting this body of retribution, may we be born in the land of supreme bliss. Thank you for your attention. See you next time.